Welcome everybody to Sin City Living. My name is Jason and I'll be bringing you today's episode. As always, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. We have a ton of content for you guys coming out every single week, every single day generally. Occasionally miss a day like I did during the rodeo that is still ongoing right now. And I hope all of our patrons out there are appreciating the patron-only exclusive videos we're putting out with the dice class, putting one out every couple of weeks. And if you're curious about that, go ahead and check the description down below. Once I get this whole live stream thing figured out, I'm probably going to do a live stream on the patron site as well. One on the regular site, one on the patron site. I do have the new computer for it. Theoretically, I have everything ready. I'm just so busy currently with this rodeo. And one of our fans asked a question a little while back about ways to tip us, to show appreciation to us without having to sign up as one of our patrons. And at the time we did not have any way of doing it, but I have managed now to get us signed up with a site called Buy Me a Coffee. As I'm sure some of you guys have noticed from some of our videos, Louie and I are both pretty heavy coffee drinkers. So if you're curious about that as well, go ahead and check down below in the description as well. We would definitely appreciate any cups of coffee you're willing to pick up for us. And don't forget to email us with any strategies, questions, suggestions, anything at all. We love shooting those videos for you guys. I actually haven't gotten a new email in about 2 weeks. And also, don't forget, anybody that may be interested in one of the small Sin City Living neons that we have, just email us that as well, sincitylivingLV@gmail.com. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get into today's episode. So for today's video, it's going to be the first in a series. I'm going to do videos on the 4 core strategies of dice. I've talked about them before, but I'm going to go into a lot more in-depth detail what these 4 strategies are, how they work, why people may play them, some of the variations, and then I'll shoot some videos on how people combine them or blend them to try and make their own strategy. And eventually I will probably link them all together into a very long, probably, video and post that as well. But initially I'm just going to shoot each one of them individually. Some of these may be 2-parters. I don't know how long this is going to go. And yeah, there we go. So the first strategy that I'm going to talk about is going to be the come bet strategy. Come bets and, of course, pass line bet strategies. It's one of the simplest strategies out there, and not as popular as the place bets. Obviously, place bets are the most popular bet. They really are the most popular bet in craps, and depending on how you play and the length of the roll you get, could also be the most lucrative, but come bets would be very, very close second. They do have their strengths and weaknesses like everything else, but let's talk about them. And if you were interested in those strengths and weaknesses, just check out some of our come bet videos, and those will talk about it more in depth. I just kind of want to go over the strategies themselves. So basically, this strategy is pretty much based off of the pass line bet, because as we all know, a come bet is just a brand new pass line bet. It's just a pass line bet as if the point were off. It's just betting on the next roll of the dice. So when this is off, as we know, 7-11 wins, 2-3-12 loses, anything else sets a point. So as soon as we set a point of 9, if we put a come bet out, 7-11 wins, 2-3-12 loses, anything else sets a point. Now, obviously, we don't have another set of numbers to mark, so of course it travels within the point, and then the player is welcome to put odds down. We'll just go ahead and do $50 in odds there. So that is the come bet at its basic quick explanation. As far as the strategies that are built around come bets, there's a few of them. It really only comes down to maybe 3 core ones, which would be the 2-point molly, the 3-point molly, and then just the never-ending come. Almost everything else tends to be a blend between the come bet strategy and some of the other strategies. Now, why would people play the come bet strategy? There's a couple of reasons why. The first one is the fact that you can win right there. So some people look at it as a hedge. Again, there's strengths and weaknesses to it. Some people look at it because of the house edge. Now, There are some false perceptions as far as house edge goes, but this bet does have an excellent house edge. Other people like to bet it because they only want to bet a few numbers. So that's where you get the 2-point Molly and the 3-point Molly systems from. 2-point Molly system is basically just betting 2 come bets, and that is it. Now, in a situation like this, if the 8 were to roll, this person would get paid. They would be on and off. They'd be on and off for $75, so they would get paid, but this come bet would still stay, and the player would continue to play it because they only have 1 come bet out. The 2-point Molly system is based off having 2 come bets. Technically, this would be a 3-point because the line bet has a point as well, but it's called the 2-point Molly. Now, if this is transferred already, let's say it goes to the 6, then the player will not have another come bet. Now, should one of these get paid, God, man, my fingers are slippery. Should they get paid, they will go to an off and on situation, or I'm sorry, an off situation. They will collect, and at that point, they leave another come bet out. Why? Because they only have 1. So this strategy, they want 2 come bets. Now, this strategy, people like this strategy, both the 2 and the 3-point Molly. And the 3-point Molly is just saying that you've got a maximum of 3 points. That's all. It's pretty basic. Now, people like this strategy because they like to have a limited number of bets out. There is nothing worse as a come bet player than doing what I call loading the bases, where you have every point with a come bet, with odds, and then 7 outcomes. You never once got a repeater. That is the most frustrating thing when you're playing as a come bet player. So people that play the Molly system will just play your 2 or 3 points, and that is it. These types of players tend to be in the middle of the pack as far as their initial buy-ins, because playing the come bets requires a somewhat steeper investment than playing place bets. If you're playing come bets, the only reason to play a come bet would be to put odds out. There's absolutely no other reason to do a come bet. If you're not going to do odds, playing come bets is an absolute waste of time. Some people do play come bets without odds. Those people, however, from discussions with them on the tables as they're playing, they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. They couldn't even tell you really why they're doing come bets. They saw someone else doing it and saw them get paid once and started doing it. I actually will see people have a come bet travel and they will take a place bet down. So they have the exact same amount of money risked on the exact same number, only now they get paid far less. It makes no sense. But those people generally just have no idea what they're doing. People that play the 2 and 3-point Molly system, they know what they're doing and they know what odds they want to play. So that's where they go for it. But they only want to play. They don't want to be invested 2 or 3 points worth of numbers. But the reason you have to be kind of in the middle of the road as far as your initial buy-in goes is because this definitely is a more expensive method of play. So you need to be a little bit higher than a lot of people will join. You need to have a fairly healthy bankroll, but you don't need to be rolling deep like some players will with their pretty extreme strategies. Also, people that are playing the Molly system, to their mind, the most dangerous spots are the first, second, and third rolls. So their idea is that, or some people, I can't say everybody, but some people have this thought that if it's a 0.7 out, they break even because they'll lose there and win there. You know, if it travels, here we go, they do another one, and now it's a 7 out, so they lose a couple bets. They have this little hedge as they're thinking. It's kind of odd there, but basically they want to have less invested in the roll, and they tend to believe that once they cross the third roll, they become more likely to have a repeating number hit. And depending on where it lands, it's certainly possible. People that play come bets, they can usually manage to play approximately as long as people that play place bets. I've seen people that buy in the same amount as their friend next to them, but they play differently. One plays come bets, one plays place bets, and they generally play approximately the same amount of time. Depending on how the rolls go, one can get hurt a little bit worse than the other, but again, you have to have more money invested because you need to do those odds. And it makes the most sense if you're playing at a 10 times or 20 times odds and are doing max odds. But you don't really have to. Come bets can definitely make you some money, for sure. And then, of course, you've got your never-ending come bet, where the player will always have a come bet out. Now, this player, their best case scenario is to load the bases. Whereas for other strategies, or for the 2 and 3 point Molly system, they're not looking for every number to roll. They're just looking for 1 or 2 numbers to roll 2 or 3 times. With the person with the never-ending come, this is where they want to get to. When they get to this point, now they are getting paid. They are in an off and on situation. Every single number that rolls that isn't a 7 or a horn number, every single one of these points, they are going to get paid. And because they have that come bet out there, it's an off and on situation. So it's basically like having a place bet in a way. You're just getting paid. You're just constantly getting paid, but your bet is staying up there. So people that have the never-ending come bet, this is their best case scenario, and for the roll to continue on. But remember how much you have at stake. You definitely have to have a lot out there. So people that play a non-stop, never-ending come bet with odds, they're usually on the higher end as far as their bankroll goes, their initial buy-in, because this is a pretty darn expensive way of playing. Now, people that play the come bet strategy, they tend to also, now this isn't 100%, but a lot of players will hedge their come bet. $2 crap maybe for something like this, so they lose $1 because they'll get paid $14. But that way, if that bet comes down, they at least get their money back. Or they'll play a $3 crap check. Or if it's a player that's maybe doing, say, a $25 come bet, maybe they do a $5 horn bet or a $5 crap check. But they do tend to kind of hedge themselves on the come bet roll. 3-way craps, crap checks, horn bets, horn high bets. Some will do the C&E, so they basically get double paid when a yo rolls, when an 11 rolls. But there we go. This is one of the most basic strategies. And it's one of the 4 core strategies. Hope you guys find this interesting, illuminating. All right, everybody. And so for today's video, we're going to go back into the 4 core strategies in craps. As we've covered before, or as we've alluded to in the past, there are really only 4 strategies in craps. There's really only 4 core ways of playing craps. All these strategies that you see online or on YouTube or read about in books, they're all variations of the 4 core strategies. Sometimes people will combine 2 or more of the strategies, different ways of trying to hedge this, hedge that, so on and so forth. Others will utilize this one of the core strategies, but they will try and change it here and there or have some different moves to it. So in the first video, we covered the come bet and pass line bet and come bet. So for today's, we are going to cover the most popular of the 4 core strategies, the one that tends to show up in probably over 90% of craps strategies, and that is place bets. So place bets, and this is not going to be instructional what are place bets. We've got plenty of videos on that. So I'm going to assume that you already know what place bets are, how they pay, things you can do with them, such as pressing, turning them off, taking them down, so on and so forth. Excuse me. Thank you everybody for the coffees, by the way. Getting me through the day. The coffee shop at work is getting to know me very, very well lately. So with place bets, now there's a number of ways to play them, which again is why it's such a common core strategy. Why do people play place bets though? Why is this the most popular way of devising your strategy? Why is this the number 1 way of playing craps? There's a lot of reasons behind it, and each strategy is going to have a different reason for why it does it. Some of the more common reasons that people really, really, really like place bets is control. Unlike come bets, where you have no control over turning the bet off and on or taking it back down, place bets, they are entirely yours all the time. If you suddenly decide, you know what, I don't want my bets up there. I've won enough. I don't want to risk any more money. I don't think this roll is going to keep going on. You can say, hey, take my bets down. Then we're going to take all your bets down and I'm going to give it to you because this is your money. This is your money to do with as you wish. It's not locked into any kind of contract bet. Also, You have the control of, say, even just turning it off. A lot of superstitious players would do that. They will turn off their bet every time the dice go off the table, or if a crap number rolls. There's a lot of different triggers, I suppose, for people to decide they want to turn off their bets for one or two rolls, and they have the control to do that. With a come bet, you wouldn't have that control. You could turn off the odds, of course, but you can't turn off the flat bet. It's locked in. Another piece of that control that comes into play with the place bets is that you get to pick your numbers. Come bets, while you can do put bets, if you did a put bet and skip the come entirely, then you actually would get paid better on equivalent amount of money if you just did a place bet anyway. In fact, we tend to look at come bets as just oddly paid place bets because you picked your number. So being able to pick your number is a big part of the reason that some people like to play the place bets. Having that level of control allows people to do so much more. Now, you have a lot of control over many of your bets. Come bets, don't come bet, well, some control over don't come bets, but with the direct lays, you have other ways of doing it. But with the place bets, there's so many different factors that all combine to make it such a popular and great bet. From being able to pick your numbers, to having the control of being able to turn them off, take them down, build them up, back up, press them, move them. We'll have people that play the odd numbers or the even numbers, and then they'll move their bets here and there. That aspect of control makes it so popular. So that's one of the reasons that a lot of people will play the place bets, because you have that level of control. Another reason people may play the place bets is the ability to, I guess you could say, full sprint towards table max. With come bets, because that flat bet always plays even money, yes, you can bring your bet up to table max. Every time it hits, you can, of course, press it. You've got your put bets and stuff like that. So you can definitely press it. But there's an ease of use factor that comes into play. One, you don't have to think about it quite so hard with place bets. And two, it doesn't interrupt the flow of the game. In fact, the game can flow very, very, very quickly with place bets. This, being the number one thing that people bet, is the number one thing that dealers interact with. So this right here, there are entire portions of dealing craps that is dedicated towards how to manipulate the place bets, because that's what so many people do. How to press them up. Common presses, cross presses, sister presses, all of those things that make place bets so exciting and make it so easy to bring them up. They're so common. We can pay these with our eyes closed. I mean, it's just so simple, so fast, so smooth. Even when we're approaching table max, we can pay these things at just a lightning fast pace, and it keeps the game flowing so much faster. All I have to do is pay it and hand it off. Get into things like, say, come bets. Again, you can press these up to table max as well, and the same number of hits if you wanted to. But now we deal with having to cut out the payout, then having to collect it up, grab your bet, put your bet out, put the payment down. Now you have to come out into the table, collect up your money, take it up, leave whatever remaining bet that you want to place down there. It's a bunch of added steps that actually slows it down a lot. Come bets are very, very slow in relation to place bets, both from a dealer and from a player perspective. So it kind of doubles up the speed, or the lack thereof, whereas place bets are very quick. We cut out the payouts, hand them off, and we're moving on to the next spot. We actually will have people that are so slow, they leave their payouts out there just because they're not paying attention or whatever. Doesn't matter, we're still gonna throw the dice because it's out beyond the pass line. It's out of the way. Come bets that are in here, we're not gonna move the dice until somebody picks them up. We'll keep reminding them and reminding them. So, place bets, the number one strategy within craps. You have a lot of things that people will do: press them up, mid press them, sister press them, cross press them. We even have the regression strategies. All regression strategies are variations of place bets, all of the core place bet strategy. All mid press strategies, variations of the core place bet strategy. Of course, your power press strategy, variation of the core place bet strategy. Even things like the iron cross is at its heart mostly a place bet strategy. Just adds in one small little detail from another strategy, but otherwise at its heart it is a place bet strategy. Most hedge strategies are place bet strategies. They just add in something, typically from the don't side of things, to plus up to add to their strategy. But again, at its core, they're place bets. So this is the most common of the 4 core ways of playing craps, the 4 most common core strategies. This is the number 1. So I hope you guys find this interesting, enlightening, illuminating, or at least just plain interesting. We will catch you guys next time. Bye now. So for today's video, we're going to go over the 3rd of the 4 core strategies. Thank you everybody for the coffees, by the way. As you guys know, we live off of coffee. So the 4 strategies, the 4 core strategies of dice, because really that's all there is. There's 4 strategies. Really there's 3, and then the 4th one is just all the random junk. But the core strategies for craps, every strategy that you see all over YouTube, or you see people playing on the tables, all these strategies are all variations of these core strategies. There's really only so many different ways you can play this game to try and win. They're either variations or they're combinations. Some people will try and combine strategies, parts of different strategies, in order to try and hedge and stuff like that. So we've already done basically the light side, the come bets and pass line bets. We've done the place bets. Both of those are core strategies on their own. So now we're going to go over to the dark side. Go to the dark side. The dark side is another viable strategy, and it's a fairly common strategy, and it's actually growing in popularity. And it really amuses me to see some people that really complain about people playing the don'ts, and then 30 minutes later on a cold table, they switch over and start playing the don'ts. Like, they were complaining just because they were the ones shooting, but now it's okay for them to play it when someone else is shooting. It just doesn't make sense to me. Here's the thing. If somebody's playing the don'ts, they're not betting with the house. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. There is most definitely no bet anywhere in the casino that is betting with the house. There is a house edge just like anything else. And 2, they're not betting against the shooter. They're not betting against the shooter any more than somebody that plays red on roulette is betting against people that play black. That's just dumb. Or, somebody that bets banker on baccarat that is not betting against all the people betting player. That's, again, it's just nonsensical. Okay, you're just betting on which way you think the dice are going to go. That's it. It's like you're betting which way you think the ball is going to land on roulette, or which way you think the cards are going to come on baccarat. All right. So with the dark side, there's a number of different ways that people will play these things. Obviously, you've got your most basic one, which is on the don't pass. The don't pass is the most basic part of the dark side, and that's the most dangerous spot right there. By the way, is the come out roll. The come out roll, because you have to dodge these 7s and 11s. That's the spot that is the most dangerous, because once there is a point, regardless of what the point may be, the odds are with you at that point, right? And the flat bet is the best bet, right? You can, of course, do your lay just like odds on the pass line. The lay is true odds. There's no house edge whatsoever. Does not favor the house, does not favor the player, just true odds. I personally am not a huge fan of the lays, simply because I bet more to win less, whereas most bets on the table I'm betting to win more. But I also don't play the dark side very often. I do play it, just not all that often. But so now you've made it past the come out roll. So of course you can do your lay and stuff like that. And there's some people that's basically their entire strategy, or people that take portions of the dark side and bring it to others. Usually do either a big pass line or a big don't pass, and then we'll play numbers or play come bets or something like that. Or they do a really big don't come, and that's the other side of the don't pass. Is some people will do like $100, $75 don't come, and then they will place all the rest of the numbers as like a hedge or something. Now with the don't come, once again, you've got that danger point. You've got the danger point of the 7 and 11. Okay. Oftentimes people that play the don'ts are kind of like come bettors. They play very, very similar to come bettors. They have 2 and 3 point Molly systems. That's most people. And it's not a bad idea to only play a couple of the points on the don't. Let's say you're just playing a quarter and doing lays. Okay, so let's say you travel, I don't know, to the 5, right? And then do a $150 lay. Maybe this time you travel to the 8. You do a $150 lay, and say you're only doing a 2 point Molly system. So now you wait. And the reason for that is every so often you're going to come across a hot shooter. And you're going to stumble into that 20, 30-minute roll. If you stumble into that 20 or 30-minute roll, you want to be able to exit it out and wait for the next shooter. If you're one of those that always does a don't come, And I've seen this, that 20, 30-minute roll can wipe you out for thousands. So a lot of players will only play a 2 or 3 point Molly system so that they can exit out. You know, if both of these come down, maybe there's a winner, so their don't pass comes down, they just stop. They just hold fast. They stand there, drink their drinks, they watch. Maybe they do a small bet, or maybe they even just do it like a minimum inside bet and just switch over to the light side. I actually did that one time. I was out playing years and years and years ago when I would occasionally play the don'ts, and I was playing the don'ts, stumbled into that hot shooter. He took both of my, I was down behind, took both of my numbers down and hit the winner, so it took me down on my don't pass line, and my bankroll had already been pretty much wiped out. I was down to like my last 20 bucks. I switched over to the light side and just started with one or two numbers, and ended up leaving up like 600 bucks because his roll just continued and continued and continued, and I was able to build right back up. So, so a 2 or 3 point Molly system, you can do the continuous don't come. All right, the thing is to remember is once you get past that don't come and behind a number, the odds favor you. This is where the odds favor you. So the most dangerous spot is again in here. That's why one of the things I don't understand, and I'm not saying this is a brilliant bet, but something I definitely don't understand. Let's say you've got, I'm not going to do 100. This is 250. So you got a $50 don't come, okay? And 8 rolls. You have a lot of people that will say, oh, no action on the 6 and 8. So you come back, or we don't move it at all, we just wave it off, no action, we keep going. What I don't understand is that, once again, the odds favor you here. The odds absolutely favor you here. The odds absolutely do not favor you here. You have now made it past the 7-Eleven danger zone. I don't know why you would want to continue to hang out in the 7-Eleven danger zone. What you could do, and again, this is not, brilliant play, but it's not bad play, is you could place it for the same amount. Now, Dewey Don't, obviously you're not winning a whole lot. I always say pick a side. But if you're playing the don'ts and you just don't like the 6 and 8, well, if you do this, you lose nothing. There is absolutely no way to lose here. There is a way to win $8. It's not much, but $8 is $8, but you can't lose here. So you put another 50 here, and you have just as much a risk as you would if you just waved it off to no action, right? So, you have to have more money on the table. But again, this is impossible to lose. It cannot lose. So you can win $8 here. If you only want to actually be behind the 4, 5, 9, and 10, sure, be behind the 4, 5, 9, and 10. But I just don't understand the wave it off on the 6 and 8. Now, a bad idea is to go behind every number and then place every number. You could win $8 here. You could win $20 here. You could win $48 there. But again, you got to worry about these 7-Elevens. These 7-Elevens can kill you for very small payouts if you had $50 going. So that's the dark side. That's the dark side of the core strategies for craps. And I hope you guys find this interesting, enlightening, illuminating, or at least just plain fun. We thank every one of you guys for watching. And for today's video is going to be the final video in our discussion. This isn't even really like demonstration videos, just discussions. So I know some people haven't been fans of these videos. Sorry guys, definitely not going to be for everybody, like all of our videos. The final one in the core strategies. There are 4 core strategies to craps. We've talked about this many, many times. And every strategy out there is just a blend of these various strategies. So now we're going to go into the 4th strategy, which is kind of a catch-all. It's kind of the catch-all. It's the randoms, I call it. Thank you, everybody, by the way, for the coffees. Really appreciate that. And this one is basically, again, the catch-all. People that only play the field, I've seen it, only play the field. Sometimes you can, again, just get lucky, just like in any other strategy. Any other strategy, the right rolls come, you get lucky, you hit it. No different than, say, playing roulette. Play roulette, and you only play like 8 numbers. Well, sometimes you're going to hit, you're going to win big. If you only play the field, and you only play the field all the time, you're going to lose, and you're going to lose fast. Because you're getting paid even money for the most part. The odds are pretty strongly against you. The field is not a bad bet. But then again, if you only play, if you play craps for 4 hours a day, every day for 6 months, you're going to lose because the odds, again, are against you. You're just looking for the big win. And again, this is supposed to be entertainment. So the field is one of the catch-alls of the random strategies. This, by the way, will be the quickest video if I didn't already mention that. And then the other one is going to be center action. Center action, and I hope some of you guys have seen some of our videos of the worst strategies I've ever seen, like the guy that just does everything as hops, doesn't even know what he's betting, doesn't know what they pay, doesn't know how to bet it, ends up betting the same thing all in the same roll. You know, it took 4 different bets in order to bet a $20 high-low kind of thing, because again, he doesn't know what he's betting, or 8 bets to end up with a $50 world bet. He could have just bet with 1 bet, but again, he doesn't actually know what's in a world. He just thinks it's kind of cool. I'm not kidding when I say this guy doesn't know what a high-low is, but he'll bet it. He'll bet the hell out of it. He'll bet a high-low, then he'll bet a 12, then he'll bet a 2. So, those strategies that are only based in the center action, that is also part of the catch-all, right? Now, this one, the random, the catch-all, the little bit of everything, these field bets, these field chunkers, or these high-low and yo people, or the C&E people, depending on the strategy. Some people, their strategy is based off parlays. They're going to bet these center action things, and then they're going to parlay them if they hit. Hop the 3-way sixes, stuff like that. But then other people, they're betting these to bring them on down. Right? So if they hit just once, they bring them down, and maybe they do another bet, or they just collect. They just collect their money and keep on going. I've seen people that bet a 12 every roll. They're cheering when they win the $5 12. They cheer when they win $150, and the dealers usually, once we notice that somebody is betting the exact same hot bet every single time, we'll actually keep track in our head. And these people start cheering that they just won $150, and it only costs them $210. So, if you bet it every single roll, it's not really going to favor you. If you're a huge fan of the center action and the hot bets, you should look for our video that's coming out where I rediscuss why roulette is actually your game. I've talked about it in other videos, but if your entire strategy is based around the center action, roulette is actually your game, not craps. And you should be playing roulette because the payouts are better. So the catch-all, the random, field, center action, parlays, even hardways, dollar hardway. I actually had, and not exaggerating here, the other day, I had 4 hard 10s come out back to back to back to back. Not a single person was on the hard 10. Nobody ended up betting it either until the 4th one, because one of us mentioned, holy cow, that's 4 in a row. That would have been an awesome parlay, by the way. Not a whole lot of people are brave enough to parlay it from $1 to $8, and then parlay it from $8 to $64, and then parlay it again and again, which would have hit table max, but or at least come really close to it. So not a lot of people are that brave, but that would have been an awesome payout. That was just kind of cool. That was just one of those things, like, I can't believe that actually just happened. So typically this random, this catch-all is actually broken up into pieces and used and added to other strategies. Various hedges. You use, hot bets to hedge, or hard ways to hedge, or at least partially hedge against, say, behinds and don'ts and stuff like that. But the randoms, the catch-alls, if it's the core strategy, if the only strategy that somebody does, and we see this every day, where their only strategy is the field, or their only strategy is in a center action, it's absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Hands down the worst of the 4 core strategies. So I hope you guys find this interesting, illuminating, enlightening. We're going to have a video eventually, probably not too long from now, where we're going to go ahead and combine all 4 videos into one longer discussion on this. Thank you everybody for watching. We will catch you guys next time. Bye now. So, as I promised, I wanted to go over very briefly our upcoming attempts at a third test live stream. So what's happened so far? The first test live stream just flat didn't work. The problem that I had was was an equipment problem. I had an equipment problem in that the equipment that I was using to translate the camera into streamable video to the computer required a better USB port than the computer I was using at the time. So that one just flat failed because it would not translate into the computer. The computer would not pick it up, would not read it, so I wasn't able to live stream it. So then, as I was looking through, because I'm a little bit of a tech head, as I was looking through all of my other stuff, because I do have 4 laptops here and 3 computers, I did find one that actually did have the newer style USB port. Unfortunately, it was actually my oldest laptop, but I figured, what the heck, let me give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? And this time around, when I fired everything up, the video was actually translating onto the computer, so things were looking better. But then when I attempted to live stream, the computer was not powerful enough to be able to translate it and then upload it sufficiently. So it basically just uploaded a blank screen for the live stream. So what I am going to have to do is, and I'm already looking into all of my options, I'm going to upgrade my computer so I can add, what, a 7th, 8th computer to my household. And I'm going to go much, much higher, and I'm going to get a computer that is far more than I need for this, far, far, far more powerful than I need for this. That way, any future upgrades that I may do, the computer will be able to handle it. So unfortunately, this computer is going to cost me about 25% more, about 25% of what I've already laid out in all the equipment for this channel. So it wasn't something I could just instantly buy. I'm probably looking at Black Friday or Cyber Monday. So hopefully I have it within the next couple of weeks, and then I'll do another test live stream and see if I can go from there. So I will definitely do at least one weekly live stream on our Patreon because they're the ones that are really helping us get this computer. And the other equipment that I'm going to get, because I figure if I'm buying the computer, I might as well buy the most high-end capture cards and things along those lines, get everything as good as possible, and then hopefully eventually get a better microphone for you guys. So yeah, that's where we stand on the live stream. As soon as I have the computer and I do the test, which will be in a few weeks, like I said, got to order it in a week or two, then I have to wait for it to ship. Plus, we have probably the biggest event of the year coming up, the NFR National Finals Rodeo. So I'm basically working 2 weeks straight, as is my wife. So not going to have a whole lot of time. But once we get all that under control, then we'll figure out. There's been some schedule changes to myself, some schedule changes to my wife, and some upcoming schedule changes to my wife as well. So hopefully we can get all the scheduling figured out, so I know when I'll be able to live stream as well. My initial plan of Thursdays at 6 o'clock is already out the window. I'm at work at that point now. So we will get it all figured out, and we will let you guys know, I promise. And otherwise, I hope you guys have found this interesting, enlightening, illuminating, or at least just plain fun. And we will catch you guys next time. Bye now.